fiancée wants her childhood best friend, who is a guy, to be her maid of honor, but I don't think it's right and now she's mad at me. I 26 male proposed to my 24F girlfriend of 6 years last month. She obviously said yes and we've been working on wedding details, save the date / invitations, venue, caterer, etc. since. We got to talking about who we would want in our wedding because she wanted to do a special proposal to her side of the wedding court, and she said she wanted to have her best friend since childhood be her maid of honor. The thing is, her childhood best friend is a guy, 24M. They lived on the same street when they were kids and have been friends since. My fiancée and I met in college and her friend was there too, so I've known him for as long as I've known her. At first I didn't really like him because he was always hanging around her, but after she and I started dating and I was forced to be around him more I kinda started to tolerate him. He and my fiancée saw each other a lot, but he and I have never really hung out one-on-one before. One time when we were left alone together he tried to get all tough and did the "if you ever break her heart I swear" corny threat talk. He's a small dude so it made me laugh more than intimidate me. After that I got the feeling this was a situation where he liked her but she didn't know. I asked my fiancée if she and him ever had feelings for each other, and she said no, then let me know he was gay. I'm not homophobic or anything, so it's not like I don't want him in the wedding because of that, it's just that I think it would be better if her side of tea party was all girls. She and him already did everything together, not including him in our wedding wouldn't hurt their friendship. I told her that and she got defensive, saying that if I could have a girl in my side of the party, the girl being my older sister who practically raised me, she could have a guy. I said that it was a different circumstance, and that I wouldn't allow her best friend to be her man of honor. She got really mad and said it was her wedding too, then stormed out. I got a text from her sister a few hours later saying she had gone to her parents' house and told them what I had said. They thought I was being an asshole because I never liked her friend and am threatened by him. I have tried to talk to my fiancée since she left but she hasn't returned my calls or texts. I really love her, and I don't want to lose her. I just don't want her best friend to be a part of our day. Ida? Edit. It's come to my attention in a previous comment I made, I have created the world's thinnest argument. I said that my fiancée maid was unwillingly to compromise on things such as the groomsmen's neck pieces and blazers, and as such I was in the right to be unwilling to compromise about her best friend. I stated in a few other posts that there were other things she didn't want to compromise on, and someone suggested I make a list so here it is. 1. When we were deciding our wedding date and location, she wanted to do it in spring in an open field. I wasn't on board with this as I have terrible allergies and spring is when it's at its worst. She shot down any alternative I gave her, alternatives being things done closer to summer or in summer, and said it was spring or nothing. So we went with spring too, instead of going with a DJ like I suggestion who could play a mix of her favorite, my favorite, and general upbeat dance music. She said that she really wanted a live band that specialized in her favorite genre. I asked if we could just give the DJ a longer list of her songs in her favorite genre and tell him to pick from the list often, but she said no and that a live band was going to be better. So we went with the band 3. In my culture there is a few traditional wedding ceremonies that I wanted us to partake in. Some included a kind of parade that leads the groom and his family to the bride's house where they say her and her family gifts, a hair cutting ceremony, I made sure to tell her her actual hair would not be cut, and finally a knot tying ceremony where the guests wish us a long happy marriage. She wanted absolutely nothing to do with these ceremonies, and said they would be too much time and effort, since it would be like having 2 weddings. I tried fighting for these more than the others, but she was firm on doing things traditionally. 4. She wanted the groomsmen to wear bow ties and blazers even though I wanted the necktie and no blazer look. 5. She changed the color scheme from the originally agreed upon black, gold, maroon, and forest green to pink, or I think it was rose, yellow, white, and pastel blue because the decorations would look better in the field. When I said we already printed invitations with the previous colors on them, she said we could throw those out and get reprints. _commenter_ I really hope this is a rage bait post. To not be able to see the hypocrisy in having his sister, whom he's known his whole life, on his side, but demand that she not have her male best friend of decades on hers is absolutely insane. If I were the fiancé, I'd call the whole thing off because Op's empathetic skills are clearly non-existent. _Op_ the difference is I'd be having legitimate family in my party. Somebody who, like I said, has practically raised me and has been there for me since birth who I want by my side. I know you can argue that her and her best friend are technically family with how long they've known each other, but that doesn't actually make them family _commenter_ it's her wedding as well so he is family to her. Don't worry. You won't have a fiancé anymore at this rate _Op_ he's not legitimate family, so it really doesn't count. He can be included in her family section of the guests that doesn't matter. But breaking it down and splitting the hairs, he's not biologically family _commenter_ Uda. It's obvious that you have a huge chip on your older about your fiancé's best friend just because he's a guy, so now you're using this girl's only thing to get him out of the way. Also, girls? You're not in high school going to prom. You're getting married. They're women. You're sexist and jealous and seem way too immature to be getting married. I hope she sees you for what you are and gets away from you _Op_ I don't understand why everyone's so hung up on my verbiage. Aren't women also girls? Are they not one and the same? I'm not trying to get him out of the way for any sexist reason either. It's just more traditional if she chooses all women to which she agreed upon in the past. She only started thinking about having him in her party after I said I wanted my sister _commenter_, then why are you not traditional and picking only men for your party? Hypocritical much? Insecure and prob lost your fiancé. Uda _op_, I'm breaking the tradition for someone who is family. Someone who has a right to be up there with me on one of the best days of my life _op_. If she had a brother and wished for him to be her man of honor, I would agree in a heartbeat. Breaking tradition for family I can understand, but breaking it for a friend is a little much. I'm just not comfortable with that. Update 1I, 24F, was recently engaged to my, 26M, fiancé after 6 years together. We got into a fight a couple of days ago because he wouldn't let me ask my guy best friend, 24M, who I've known since we were kids, be my man of honor. I ended up walking out and went to stay with my parents for a few days. I told them what happened and they agreed that he was way out of line. I went back earlier today after I thought he had enough time to calm down, and when I came home he looked glad to see me. He apologized for stepping out of line and I said it was fine and that we still had time to ask my best friend to be in the wedding. He kind of looked down, then said that we should call everything off. This really surprised me and I immediately said oh. He then admitted that while I was gone he posted to r/Ida about what had happened, and that even though he was deemed the controlling he also realized that I was one because I had basically hijacked the wedding planning. I asked how he could think that, and he pointed out how I chose to have the wedding in spring even though that's a bad time for him, and that I changed up the wedding color scheme and what his groomsmen would be wearing without talking with him first. I said that those were practically minor things and we didn't have to call off the wedding for it. Then he said I was insensitive for rejecting his culture's traditional wedding ceremonies and didn't even considering doing them. He had brought to my attention some traditional ceremonies people do at weddings in his culture, and while I appreciated him bringing it up to me, I decided against doing it because it wouldn't fit the vibe of the traditional wedding I wanted. I told him I only wanted to do a traditional American wedding and that he already agreed with me that that's what we were doing. Then he said that me having my guy best friend be my best man was untraditional. I pointed out I let him have his sister be part of his wedding party because he wanted some part of his family included, and that since he was breaking the tradition so could I. He got really sad and looked like he was about to cry and said that me breaking the tradition was like a slap in the face after I rejected his traditions, and that I just didn't respect his culture at all. That is not the case at all. I greatly respect his culture. I told him I understood how mean it sounded, but it's my wedding too, so I get a say in what we do. He kind of laughed and got up and said he wanted to take a break and left. I don't know what to do. I don't want to call off the wedding at all. I tried to find his Reddit post, but I think he was using a throwaway, though granted I am too. I love him so much and I want to be with him for the rest of our lives. I don't know how we'll get through this. _commenter_, I don't know if you two are compatible _op_. Up until this point I would have disagreed with you. When we met in college we were studying the same thing, so we crossed paths often. We became friends and found we have a lot in common in terms of interests and lifestyle, and we had a great relationship up until the proposal. We've talked about marriage before and we seem to be on the same page about a lot of things. I don't know where it changed _commenter_, sounds like you are controlling and you brushed off his complaints as no big deal. If the date, groomsmen outfit and color scheme are minor details, then they shouldn't have been changed. Disregarding his family traditions is a major detail, and if you are willing to disregard them for a wedding, how does he know you won't for other events? The wedding is one day. If you don't let him have a say in that, he's right to take a break and reconsider. _op_, I understand where you're coming from. I'll be honest and tell you that I haven't celebrated a lot of his cultural events besides New Year's. He's Cambodian and they celebrate their New Year's in April, I believe. He and his family had a falling out after he started dating me. His family didn't approve of a foreigner, and only recently have they reconnected. His sister though was different. She didn't care I was American, and she stuck by his side as his only family member. I guess I disregarded the traditions in the first place because he never immersed me in his culture enough, because he kind of cut ties with that side of himself. I was uncomfortable with the idea of being surrounded by his family that doesn't particularly like me during the ceremonies, as both his parents and my parents would be involved. I didn't want to feel like an outsider on our wedding day _commenter_. I think your ex is right. You haven't considered his preferences and in fact you minimize his requests, calling them practically minor, and aren't respecting his cultural traditions. It sounds like you're more interested in a wedding than an actual relationship and marriage. _op_, of course I'm interested in the wedding. I've been dreaming of my own since I was a child. But I don't value it more than I value my relationship with him. We didn't get that far into the planning, but for our honeymoon I was going to suggest going somewhere he and I have always talked about going to. We would have eventually gotten to a place where more of his ideas would be accepted. _commenter_, babes, you literally chose your wedding over your fiancé. You broke up because of plans for the wedding. You broke up because you couldn't compromise anything you wanted for anything he wanted. You chose the wedding over the marriage. _commenter_, I read his post yesterday and yours today. You both suck. I think he wouldn't have put up the stink about your male best friend being in your party if you hadn't been so controlling, but that's moot because you're incredibly controlling and don't understand/care. You are selfish and self-centered. You seem to think only your tastes and desires matter for your wedding, forgetting that your groom is a person and not just a prop at your wedding. The fact that you even say let him include his sister is grounds to break up with you in my opinion. Neither of you are mature enough to marry from the little bit you have each written. In both of your posts you both sound fairly unpleasant to be around, but you are definitely the harsher of the two. He's a whiner and you are Attila the Hun. Both of you need to grow up and learn what's actually important in life, how to grow together.